and none of it makes sense. But you know what? If you take a look at the world, you'll realize that none of it does actually make sense. There's nothing sensical about our life. Hi, welcome to the F1 ChatPod. I'm David Milcher. That's Jason Bryden. He's discouraged. He's disappointed. He's in a disastrous state. We've attempted multiple times to get the live stream launched using Restream. We're technically, what would be
No,
the word here?
Restream is technically idiotic.
I'm
It's
going to say that we're
Restream's fault.
okay. I'm going to say Restream and us as a combination. We are not worth much, but maybe as we grow together, we'll become a valuable asset to the community of F1.
Once we finally got you, after sending you about 18 different links,
Hmm.
I started a stream,
Yeah,
a live stream, and then it gave me a countdown timer. It gave me an
without
error message and then a countdown timer, and then just it started live streaming.
yeah.
That's not
Look,
us.
you
That's
know
them. That's
that does seem like
nerds.
there was some weird zero. There was a 0 and a 1 in the wrong place.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about F1. We're going to talk about life. We're going to overshare. But today we have a special podcast. We're going to talk about F1 budgets.
Let's talk
Uh,
about budgets, Milky.
and we'll talk about our personal budgets because my line of
Oh,
credit
that's a
is
great idea.
jacked.
Is
I
it?
got a
How much do you owe?
30,000.
Yeah. That's pretty good. And when did that start ballooning?
It started ballooning. Well, it actually started during the pandemic
Yeah.
because I had no way to make any money.
Yeah. Did you get
And
CERB?
I did, but then I had to stop getting CERB because, and CERB is, for those of you international listeners, was the benefit the government was handing out to people so that people didn't go crazy and lose their shirts. I had to stop taking it because when at that time I'd saved up a nest egg to buy a home for my lovely wife and I, and we had slowly packed away our money, and then it was getting crazy. And my friend's a realtor. She suggested, you might want to buy now because it's going to get crazy. And I was like, okay. I bought a condo sight unseen. That's how the fervor of the market out here was, that people were just throwing out offers everywhere. So I just threw one out. But RBC, who is not to be trusted, a banking Royal Bank of Canada, they're terrible,
Yeah.
evil, horrible.
Yeah.
They made multiple errors on my mortgage applications, but most importantly was they were like, oh, well, you're taking CERB, so that's going to affect your credit. I go, everyone's taking CERB.
Yeah.
How does that affect my credit?
Yeah.
Everyone's taking CERB. Uh, that list and that enjoyment of interacting with that institution goes on. There's lots. I won't do that now. And then from there, the writer's strike happened. The actor strike happened. Um, and then AI.
30,000 isn't bad. I got
Uh,
mine up to 170,000.
what do you mean? How did you do that?
Yeah. Well, I renovated my house. So that was
Okay.
$162,000 in renovations.
Right.
That was 14 years ago, 12 years ago.
Right.
I paid off 50,000 in the first year because I was still making great money.
Right.
And then I paid off a little less the next year, then a
Right.
little less the next year. Then my wife at the time opened a store and blah, blah, blah. But money was cheap. Money was practically free until it wasn't. And then I sold my house, paid off all my debts, and now I'm never getting a line of credit again. Those vultures, those turkey vultures, the way they just get you a mortgage and then they go, oh, yeah, and here's all this credit over here. And they shouldn't be allowed to call it credit. They should call it what it is, and that's future debt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
that
mean,
is the middle class trap that we are in. They
mhm.
lend you just enough so you can hang yourself with it.
Yeah, it's I watch a lot of financial stuff now on YouTube. Google, another great technological giant that is slowly manipulating us beyond control.
Uh-huh.
It's a positive podcast so far.
So far,
But there's
a
this
real
one
rainy
gentleman, I can't
cloud.
remember his name. He's like, don't own a house, don't own a house.
Well, that's
Um,
me.
And then he's like, invest in the stock market. But you see, either or are both terrible situations. And
Yeah.
in my like
Yeah.
mind, I'm like, well, property feels a lot like theft. What, like, why do I, this is mine when it really isn't mine?
No, you're
It's not mine.
absolutely right.
It's
I mean,
everybody's.
that's an old communist slogan. Property is theft.
So I it's mine? Well, hang on, there were a bunch of people here before me that took care of the land, that lived off the land, that shared off the land. I don't know if it's
That's
mine.
right.
And then the second thing is the stock market, it's not designed for everybody. The stock market is designed
No.
for a few elite. That's what it is.
The stock market is designed for people that can dedicate their life to it. Otherwise, you're a loser. Otherwise, chances of you beating the market are next to none, unless you have the time to dedicate. It's got to be a full-time job. Otherwise, you're throwing your money away. Otherwise, it's gambling,
Mhm,
practically.
mhm.
I
I
know.
mean,
I'm
it's
much
all
happier renting. I don't have any of my money in the stock market. I have them in GICs and high interest savings accounts. So I'm not going to make gazillions of dollars, but the upside is that I sleep soundly every night and I live within my means. And that's the first time I've done that in years.
what, live within your means?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Like I used to live within my means before children. Then I had children and a wife, and then I lived outside of my means, even though I was making like 150, 250 grand a year.
wow.
You just keep spending, and we were living in a fancy neighborhood and a nice house.
JB,
Now it's
just adjust your cables, just because sometimes when you speak, there's just like a little crackle. Now it could be me, but just let's just do a little adjusting.
what do I do?
Just
Do I touch stuff?
you sound
What
better now already.
what do I touch? Okay.
Oh no, there it is. There's just a little crackle.
Maybe it's dust. Is it dust?
I don't know what it's probably Restream's fault. Um,
I'm going to touch stuff.
I think what's going to happen is people are going to move to smaller communities. This is my Italian bit, and people are going to start going back to more localized economies. That's what I think is going to happen.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot. Now, artists have been decamping from expensive cities for as long as there have been artists. That's how
Mhm.
you get those artsy communities outside of major centers like Guelph or Hamilton or Nelson or whatever other places have art scenes that aren't in big cities. Do you mean something different than that, or is
No,
that
I
sort
mean,
of
I think that no, I think that's like that is something that is. I think that's the future trend because I don't see how people um, you know I don't see how people survive in Canada or America in
Can you
over the next 20
imagine?
years.
I spend 37.50 a month on rent.
Oh, but you got a pretty big place, right?
Yeah,
I'm just trying
it's
to find the
big.
spin on that. So,
You don't have to. It's a great
okay.
place, and that's a great price for a detached home with two parking spots and a backyard and that is a great price. I mean, it's shocking. In this
Mhm.
neighborhood, close to their mom, close to the subway, close to their schools, and it's still outrageous.
Yeah, the amount, so it makes you think like, how does F1 exist? If you can't
Who
like
has all the money?
if you can't afford
Yeah.
where you live, how do you afford to go buy an F1 ticket?
Who has all this money? Or is everybody just in debt
I
and
think,
living a life they can't really justify?
well, here's something. Do you buy a plane or do you,
Did you say a plane?
yeah, do you buy a plane or lease a plane? Because if you buy a plane, just hear me out here.
Yeah.
You buy a plane, you get a loan for it, you buy it, it's all a write off, right? Like you when you is that how it works? Like when you buy something that you're going to turn into a business, the cost to buy it becomes a write off because it's a business. Is that right?
Well, I think there's operating costs and depreciating costs, and I think you can write portions of that against any sort of income you may have, income tax you may owe.
I'm gonna stop myself, and that's a
Good
good
at it.
sign of an
Yeah, let's
intelligent.
not talk about stuff we don't. No, no, no. Of course we're going to talk about stuff we don't. Of course we talk out of our ass, but there is a line, isn't there?
Yeah, I edited it myself. So,
How was your weekend?
uh, uh, overall, not bad. It was good. We had some successful shows.
What kind of shows and
Uh,
where do you do them?
we did our middle-aged boy band in Chilliwack, and it sold okay. Could have sold better, but it was profitable. Number one,
Good for you. How many people in the audience?
I think it was 271. But
Wow, good for you.
yeah,
But you
it
could have
should.
had.
Well, I think the reality was I had budgeted for 400, and the reason why was because based off of our other show that we sold 200 tickets, which sold out almost right away in a different market, and also a slightly different marketing strategy. So there's a couple things that I learned, and but what I am confident of is the show makes sense. It works, and people will buy tickets for it, and there will be certain markets that'll be much better. It'll probably do very well in America.
When do you
Um,
take it down to the States?
uh, I think after a year of doing it in Canada, because I think what I'd like to
Yeah.
try and do is go look at all these sales we did in Canada. Maybe you want to co-pro it or buy it, and then I'm not having to front load all the expenses.
I love it, Milky. So proud of you. You
Thank you.
made a show, you marketed a show, and now you're doing the show. You made it out of nothing. That's
Hmm.
incredible.
Yep, the comedy department, Denise Jones, we're crushing it. We're getting there. We're working a lot, but we'll get there. The real end game, JB, is to be able to do this in Europe. That's
Europe. Yeah. We got
yeah,
to go to Europe
because to tour in Europe makes so much more sense. It's easier. America makes it more expensive and harder. America's more,
because of the distances.
and also how they want you to file for P2s and stuff and taxes. It's
Right,
more,
right, right.
whereas Europe is it's much more streamlined and easy. So that's the end game.
Hey, do you have a European passport?
No, I have a UK passport, and half that country are idiots, and they voted for leaving the EU. And they also don't realize that London is not even part of England; it's its own jurisdiction. So they should have never have left.
Oh my God.
They never
Uh,
should
uh,
have never have left.
in order to move over to Italy with your plan of moving over there, because there's a 7% withholding and 7% income taxes, which are far less than the Canadian ones, does that mean we have to renounce our Canadian citizenship?
I'm not going to answer that. I don't think so. I mean, if you
You're
want to
not
just
going to
leave,
answer.
well, I
Yeah,
don't like. I mean, you can.
but you don't have
Christina's
to.
you don't have to. No, you don't. You can still live in both. There's a tax treaty between both countries, and as far as you can do both. But I don't imagine there's that much value. I think Canada is and the US, these are not places you want to be. I don't it's not getting gooder. It's not getting gooder.
Hey, I heard that last night. We were watching Trailer Park Boys. The boys had never seen it before, and I never got into that show.
Neither did I.
But Ricky said you got to gooder it up. You know, you just got to be a man. You just got to You got to gooder up your family. I
Mhm.
thought that was a good, and you sort of just did that.
Yeah, what was your weekend like?
Oh, it was terrific. Thursday, I was on stage again for the first time in forever, and it felt so good
Doing
at
what?
a fundraiser, no, eighth anniversary party for the West End Phoenix, the rock and roll left wing socialist newspaper that I've been volunteering for the last 5 years.
How left wing?
Very
Oh boy.
comfortably
Uh,
left wing. And I
whew.
did a reading up on stage, and it was so much fun. And my friend Bev was there, and my friend Mike was there, and terrific artists. And it was at the Paradise on Bloor, which is a beautiful theater.
I know the one.
You know the one. And then Friday, Richard and Pippa were in town. Richard was
Oh,
here for a printing award he was receiving. So my buddy Sath and I met them at Bar Kukla, which is a Greek joint on Ossington. We had some delicious drinks. We had some feta wrapped in phyllo. Do you say phyllo or phyllo?
I think it's my mood that will dictate that.
That's nice.
Mhm.
And we had some patatas. with some lemon and feta. So good. They were deep fried. I got to get an air fryer. Do you have one of those?
My mom does. I don't.
Do you like it?
It's just another thing.
That's for sure. And I don't have the counter space in this place.
I
And
like
then
an
we
iron
got the,
skillet. Just just put everything in an iron skillet and be done with it. Fry your steak, bake your steak, not bake, broil your steak. Make pancakes in it, fry an egg,
yeah,
stir fries. Just an iron skillet.
yeah, look at you. You're a simple man. You're ready for rural Italy.
Yeah, how I am, you don't know, my friend.
And then we had the calamari, and it was so good. But I was a
What
bit
type?
disappointed that it was deep fried. Everything deep
Mm.
fried. And I wanted grilled. But maybe you can't
Mhm.
get grilled squid in Ontario because it has to come up the St. Lawrence Seaway. And by the time it gets here, you're like, the only way to make this taste good is we deep fry it because it's got to be fresh, caught, that day to grill it and for it to be good. But who am I? I'm not a squid expert. And I know that may be disappointing to you, but it's true.
I I'm not disappointed, that you don't know enough about squid. I can add on to your squid story about a grilled squid in Italy, the
Mm.
best squid I've ever had,
Mm.
grilled,
Yeah.
probably in an iron skillet.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. They love
Pretty
those things over
Yeah.
there.
The other thing about an iron skillet that's great is it's free exercise.
Yeah. Yeah. Your arms get big.
Pretty heavy. They'll keep
Yeah.
those wrists strong.
That's important in life. You got to have strong wrists.
Yeah, yeah. Well, nowadays with keyboards and thumb scrolling and thumb typing.
Yeah. So that was Friday. Oh, no, it wasn't. Then we went to Paris for dinner where I had a great arugula salad, which normally I don't like arugula. I think I'm done with this. I've had it forever. I'm sick of it, but this was really good with some compressed pear, which is so good. And then we went to Barbowie, and there was a lineup of two people, and I almost got into a fight. And that's when we left.
Okay, stop. What do you mean you almost got into a fight? What does that mean?
Well, the server at Paris said, "You should try Barbowie. It's really cool." Okay, great. So we go around the corner. It's in a back alley. There's a doorman and two people standing there.
Right.
And he goes, "Hey, there's a bit of a wait." And I look at the two people and I'm like, "You mean like you've got a lineup of two people?" Like I was kind of making fun of him. And I
Right.
look at the two people and in my head I'm like, "Well, we're not going to wait here, especially in a pathetic lineup of two. Like it's not even a good lineup. And plus we're old and nobody wants us in here anyways." And I look at the two people nicely and I go, "How do you guys feel about, pointing at the bouncer being a lineup of two?" And she laughs and I didn't really look at him. And then all of a sudden he starts doing like this nervous twitch thing of scratching his head and he's like, "Why don't you get in line, Papa?" And he starts puffing up and getting bigger. And
He
then he
called you
reaches,
Papa.
yeah, and then he touches me on the lapel. "Why don't you get in line, Papa?" And I was like, "Oh, oh, yes, I remember. I remember those levels of testosterone.
You don't
Got
have
it.
those anymore. You
Time to
don't
go.
you
Time to
need pills
go.
for that testosterone.
These people don't know me. They don't know my sense of humor. Sometimes I'm not everyone's cup of tea."
Nope.
So Pippa was just like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And we walk around the corner, and then Rich, like totally clueless, talking to someone else.
Yeah, I've met
Uh,
Rich. I'd say that's a good example of his
he
personality.
comes around behind us. He's like, "Guys, where are we going?" I was ready to queue. He was totally ready to just line up and party. Anyways, that was the end of the night.
I'd love to see Rich and Pip out here, but
Oh,
it never
they're
seems to
great.
happen. We can't,
They're great.
I don't like I met Rich and
What?
Pippa 30
Yeah,
years ago.
no, you love them, and
But
you've always wanted to be closer to them. Why don't
mm,
you invite them to one of your shows? I'm sure they'll
I've
come.
done it in the past. I'll try it
Oh,
again.
okay.
I'll try it
Okay.
again.
Yeah.
They don't. Where do they live exactly in Vancouver?
Commercial Drive.
Oh, well, there's no. Oh, yeah, they never even came to David and Ken when we were doing it on at Havana.
Oh, well, fuck them then.
So we'll see.
So that was Friday. Saturday, I made
Okay,
both.
that's enough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're good.
We didn't
If
even
that,
get to the sex I had on
I
Sunday.
yeah, but I mean,
You're not
hey,
interested.
you should have really
I
reviewed it
blew
in
my
your head
load
what was
on
important,
Friday.
right?
Yeah.
And
But I
you've
did
messed
also
it
blow
up.
my load on Sunday.
Okay, well, I'm proud of you. Maybe we'll talk about that. I feel like we're 20 minutes in. It's time for a little F1.
24 minutes in. On the budget show today, I want to lead with disappointment, Milky. Team
Okay.
budgets
Yep.
aren't made public. So we
No,
wanted to go through by each team and each budget and see what they're dealing with here under the cost cap, but they don't actually publicize them.
no. Well, because they have, like most giant corporations and people that have lots of money, they like to move things around and have a little bit of black magic on there so that they don't have to actually follow the rules.
What I do know is the cost cap was introduced in F1 in 2021,
Yeah.
and for 2024, it's around 190 million Canadian. And I say
That's right.
around because I'm converting from pounds sterling, but you say it's right. The
Yeah, that's
cost,
about 135 million US. So that's
okay,
about right. Yeah.
okay. The cost cap covers expenses. I didn't realize this. Cost cap covers expenses related to car development and performance, including salaries of technical staff,
Mhm.
R&D, travel costs, and more. It is designed to curb excessive spending on areas that directly affect the car's performance. Exclusions include driver salaries, the
Right.
salaries of the team's top 3 personnel, all marketing costs, and any fees payable to the FIA or Formula One for participation in
Mhm.
championships.
Mhm.
So
So
it doesn't even include Lewis Hamilton's salary or the top 3 personnel or any of the marketing costs or fees that you have to pay for the FIA if you have a great year. And for instance, last year Red Bull had to pay over $7 million to the FIA because they won the championship.
well, some of that makes sense and some of it doesn't, does it?
Well,
Like,
keep talking.
I mean, if the F1 drivers don't only be part of a budget cap because then their salaries can't be $50 million a year like Max Verstappen's. So
Right.
they're not going to want to go for that.
Hmm.
Um, and then the licensing or any fees you have to pay towards the FIA doesn't make sense either because the FIA want to be able to just increase how much they charge the teams to
Right.
enter. So they're
Right.
not going to
Right.
mess with that. The travel and marketing, and I think with travel, perhaps they do that because maybe it's hard to manage that because travel costs can change, hotel
That's
costs can
true.
change,
That's
maybe. So
true.
that's sort of out of their hands. Um, and then the marketing is, I guess that makes sense too. But this is where it gets all gray, right? This is where they can fudge their budget numbers. This is where they can like align money. Okay, we're only going to pay you this much a year, chief engineer, but we're always going to put you in 5-star rooms, and we're going to lease a car for you for travel to and from. So we're not going to
Yeah.
so you don't have to pay for the car, but we're going to call it travel, but we're going to pay for your, and that's how we're going to
Right.
tempt you. So it's still in favor of the rich. I mean, all the teams in F1 are rich, but like Red Bull is rich, Mercedes is rich, Ferrari is
Yeah.
is
And we'll get
rich.
into how much money they made last year in a little while. Gunther Steiner said a couple of years ago about the cost cap and I can't do his accent. I wish I could, but
I'll work on it.
he's Italian. Can you believe it?
Yeah, he's Italian Swiss, right? Or Swiss or Austrian? Italian.
But he has that accent. I mean, it just goes to show like I got to get out more. I got to go see these places where there's Italians with German accents.
Well, I discovered something which I thought I should have known a long time ago because I'm an avid skier. You realize that if you go skiing in Italy, you can literally go up one mountain and ski down into Switzerland
I
or
love
ski
it.
into France, and you have to make sure you're back up the mountain to get back into Italy. Otherwise, you'll have to take a bus or a train back to Italy and go through customs.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
Um,
Gunther Steiner said before in the before times, before the cost cap, big teams had 3 times the budget of a little team, and the
mhm,
advantage could be like 200, $300 million. Now, if the big teams do have an advantage, it's maybe 10 to $20 million.
mhm,
So we can figure out that each team's budget is around $190 million Canadian.
mhm.
You'll remember in 2022 when Zach Brown called Red Bull's $6 million breach of the cost cap cheating.
Sorry.
You got a phone call? Red
I know.
Bull had been given a $7 million fine for
That's
their
right.
$6 million breach.
Yes.
And they got a reduction on aerodynamic testing.
Mhm.
Um, and so, I don't know. There's still people pushing the boundaries of the cost cap.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, why even have rules? Because no one ever
I'm with
seems
you.
to no one
Yeah.
ever seems to, like, follow them anyways.
Yeah. I
So just
say I say everybody just take steroids.
Mhm.
Quit with all the testing.
Yeah. Make as much money as you can.
Our
Yeah,
guys will be on steroids. Our girls will be on steroids.
yeah.
Yours will be on steroids. We can forget all these lies.
We'll all have giant veins. We'll all have, like, small testicles.
Yeah.
Do you take it as far as, like, hey, if you have to murder, murder, go for it. No rules. Murder's not illegal. Just murder your way to making money. Is that what you're saying?
No, I wouldn't want to impact like that's an interesting question. I'm not
Because
sure
if you pull
where
out rules,
murdering.
if you're just gonna get rid of all rules,
Yeah.
then like, just let the world do it. And if you're like, I have to be the
So
most successful software company, I'm gonna murder the
so let's
CEO
let's keep the
of
sports.
okay.
So Lance Armstrong, instead of bullying the
Yeah.
competition, he would have them killed.
Yeah.
See, that's the law of diminishing returns right there. Because then somebody is just as likely to kill Lance Armstrong.
Mhm.
And now it's a different sport. It's called a killing sport.
Mhm. I guess
It's
it's like
different.
we're going back to gladiator times, like in the Roman Colosseum,
Yeah.
like,
No, I
which was
would
a very
say
exciting time, I think. I bet you that would have been
depends on who you
exciting
were.
to watch. I don't know,
Yeah.
to watch, like, 2 people go into a
Well, if you were a slave, it wouldn't be exciting.
well, I mean, there
It
might be
wouldn't
some
be an
excitement just
exciting
trying to
time.
survive. There might be some excitement to that. I mean,
That's true. That's true. Just last week, Alpine and Honda were fined for breach of the cost cap rules, so people are still figuring it out. And Honda had to pay $1 million to the FIA.
and Honda supply the engines to Red Bull. So yet again, you can't help but have a perception or perspective. I don't know. There's a difference there. Of Are Red Bull, are they cool or are they uncool? Because they seem to be always in some sort of hot water.
That's true. Let's check out the 2023 earnings for the F1 teams. Red Bull, first place in F1 Constructors Championship. They earned $140 million, which is great money, but it's less than their budget. Mercedes in second place, 131 million. Ferrari in third, 122 million. McLaren, 113 million. Aston Martin in fifth place in the constructors, 104 million.
They don't need to make any money. I mean, Lance Stroll will just be like, here's some
Yeah.
more.
Well, there is that, but then we'll get down to their profits, and it's quite surprising. Alpine in sixth place with 95 million, Williams in seventh with 87 million, and AlphaTauri, which I don't know what they're called now, RB,
V carb.
V Carb still? Didn't they go back to RB?
I don't know. Hopefully they change it.
Whatever, 78 million. Check out these profits though. Alpine made 8 million pounds sterling in 2023. Aston Martin were down 30 million. They were $30 million in the red because they're building, because they're on a build, because Lawrence Stroll is building for a championship.
Lawrence Stroll is the Elon Musk of F1 and the and space travel. That's what he is. Just throw money at it until you get it right. That's it. Just throw
Yeah,
it,
I don't know.
burn it until
He's
you get it right.
he's not trying to affect elections though. He's not quite as evil
We don't know about
as
that.
Elon Musk, and
We don't know.
we don't want to trade too much in hearsay. But we'll do apologies later. Haas, $6 million in the black. McLaren, $13 million in the black. Mercedes-Benz, $84 million in the black. The most profitable team of 2023. Red Bull, only made $1.3 million, and this, I think, is due to all the capital expenditures they're experiencing on their way become on their way to becoming a manufacturer by 2026
Of their own engines. Yes.
of their own engines. And then Williams was in the basement. They are they were 80 million pounds sterling in the red last year.
Mhm. That's because they've got a bunch of, as far as I understand it, they got a bunch of investment and they're like dumping it in to make the organization work because they were like they had no money for like 15 years. There was nothing. They were just like
When
just
they were
getting by.
controlled by the Williams family, is that correct?
Well, I mean, Williams is very successful for many years. It's one of the most successful constructors in Formula One, and that was before. That was like when Formula One had like true racing teams, and it didn't
Yeah.
become corporified. It didn't become a
Now, yeah,
massive
now Williams is now there's
billboard.
private equity all over the place.
Yeah,
Pardon me.
yeah.
And private equity is the financial phenomenon that is hollowing out economies across the globe.
Hmm. Right back to
So,
what we started with.
yeah,
Yeah.
this has been a real Debbie Downer of an episode.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen. Why don't we just? This is
Why sugarcoat?
when I give my description of this show, I say we talk about Formula One, we talk about life stuff, and we probably overshare.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
oversharing our sentiment right now.
we definitely overshare, but we also talk about stuff we don't really know. We're not experts on, which I'm okay with because that's how people talk in real life. Pardon me.
Oh yeah.
We do that all the time. Where it gets tricky is I think if you become popular and people find out about you, that's when they get angry at you.
Right.
And then they say stuff like, "You slandered us, I'm going to sue you."
Right.
But maybe that's a problem for another day. Right now we've got 0 people watching.
Yeah, that's fine.
How are we going to advertise this thing? Are you
I'm
going to
not sure
make
yet.
clips? Are you making clips yet?
No, I'm not making clips yet.
Okay. No pressure.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure how we advertise this.
I think it's clips on our social media channels. I mean, that's
Well,
what Preet's doing in the other one.
I think. Oh yeah, your
Pop Finance, yeah.
pop finance. He makes little clips and does hashtag something.
He makes clips and then he puts them on. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I don't think he makes the clips. I think he puts them into the AI thing and the whatever. I don't know which one he uses, and then
So
they pop out, and then he sends them to me, and then I have to put the app back on the Instagram app back on my phone, and then I put them on there, and then I
well,
delete
you're
the
gonna
app
have to be
again
on social
before
media, JB.
No, I can't. No, no, I do all this stuff. Like I wrote this show today. I got the
Hey,
restream.
I got my notes. You didn't let me say anything.
You have notes?
Yeah, I use ChatGPT. I go in and I ask questions and I get numbers back.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I
I
don't
don't.
I don't I don't know how to use ChatGPT, but I was trying to justify me being off of social media. I can't go on that. I can't go back on it.
Why?
Marky. Don't make me. Cuz it's a horrible way to live for
It
me.
is.
For me.
Yeah, it is. No, it's
I'm
horrible
so
for.
much happier without it on my phone.
Right.
Next I'm going to get off porn again.
Yeah.
I was off of it for almost 2 years and then I went back on it in June, and I got to stop. I got to lock it all down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, let's face it. It's
Do you
just like
use porn?
drink. Not really. No.
Are you
No.
sexual anymore?
Wow.
Is that too much?
No, it's okay. I mean, just I've already shared how much I'm in debt. So how much am I gonna
Well, I
share
shared how much I'm in debt.
about my sex debt?
Sex debt. Hey, things slow down and mellow out as you become a certain age.
Yeah. Oh, Christina's looking at me and she knows what
Oh, she heard sex and she came
Yeah.
right over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, babes. I heard that. Yeah, this is live streaming, so. Oh, I might have to go to the bedroom in a few.
Hello.
Hello.
I
How you
love
doing
it.
down there?
We offer a lot on this on F1 ChatPod.
Yeah.
including getting you in the mood.
Nothing like talking to you for 25 minutes and getting angry about Restream and the economic system. Um,
You
let
got to
me
take some stress off sometimes. That means you
yeah,
got to lay with your woman.
that's true. You know what else I'm finding that's really helping me out is now I always during the day I'll do 30 push-ups. I'll
Oh,
do
good for you.
50
Yeah.
sit-ups. I'll do some squats. I'll lift some weight.
Mhm.
And I just do that all the time,
Me
all during
too.
the day.
Yeah.
And it's making me feel much better. I'm slowly, you know, my body is forming into a masterpiece slowly.
I've noticed that since turning 50, I can't do like I can do like 10 push-ups now, and I used to be able to do 25. And
Well,
my muscles are smaller, and it's a drastic drop off of a cliff.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that just means you have to keep doing it, JB.
I
I have
just
a
keep doing
question.
it. Yeah.
Did you say earlier, because the total prize pool for F1 teams is around 1.4 billion?
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what I have, and I just wanted to make sure I'm not repeating, but because like I was like, what is the prize pool? Like, how much money do they actually get? And it says it's around 1.4 billion, and
Wow.
it's derived from 45% of Formula One's total revenue. So that means
Wow.
Formula One is making like over $3 billion a year.
Yeah.
Like, like that's like it's it kind of blows my mind. Like it generates 3 billion. That's
It's
F1.
amazing.
That's not the organizers of the F1 race. The F1 race organizers make money as well.
Oh, so that's not that number isn't predicated on attendance.
I don't think so. I mean,
Wow.
they will get a portion of that, I
They'll
bet.
get
Like
their
when
taste.
like
Yeah.
they'll get their like a promoter would get or something, right? But like
Yeah.
I want to put on an F1 race, I have to buy the rights to race in F1. Like some countries pay $25 million to have a race.
And then each race, the attendance is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like 300, 400,000 people over a weekend.
And some of those tickets are like $1,000.
It's bonkers, hey?
It's incredible that like that money exists. And then so it goes on to say, so Red Bull, they've received approximately 14% of that 1.4 billion. So they got $147 million. So they won their budget,
They won a little less than their budget, I think.
right? Right. But that's
That is in win
yeah.
like and they made other stuff, I'm sure,
Mhm.
like sponsorship and
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
licensing and
Yeah, that's just the prize
merchandise
pot,
and
but that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. That's the prize. Like they got so like the fact that Perez is not racing well at all, and the fact that Red Bull hasn't replaced him, and they might still have him next year, blows my mind because they are not going to win the world championship this year for the constructors. It's going to be either McLaren or Ferrari. They're just tossing away all that money.
Right.
Like I don't like so there's something going on that I don't understand. Like any normal person, any practical person would go like, "We're going to lose $147 million because of this driver? How is he still racing?"
I wonder if they look at things in a bigger picture in that they've won how many constructors in this last run? Do you know?
Well, they've won 3.
And when you look at a team, at dynasties within teams, do you go, okay, 3 is great, and the way we move our chess pieces around is we're not going to get a driver that's going to be so much better than Checo without upsetting Max in order to ensure us getting a fourth constructors. You
Yeah,
know what
but
I mean? Like
here's
they have to.
yes, but here's the thing that I my where my brain goes is no matter what anyone says, a Formula One driver will operate to have be in the best machinery. Okay. And if your driver, in this case Perez, isn't able to help you win more money and develop the car properly or help develop the car, uh, then he's going to have maybe the car gets worse. And the car was worse this year. The car was bad. I'm not saying that's necessarily Checo's fault, but the car was bad. Now they're going to have less win money, right? They're going to technically get a bit more wind tunnel time because when you finish first, you get the least amount of wind tunnel time, second, and then when you're last, you get the most. And this is a way to even the pack, which is a really cool rule that F1 has. I think that's a great rule. Any team, if you're the last place team, you should get an extra
How do
15%.
they monitor that?
That's
Because
another,
Red Bull has their own wind tunnel.
yeah.
So
I
does the
mean,
FIA
I guess they
guy
audit.
have a guy there who's
I don't
sitting
know.
there like,
No.
I'm clocking you guys.
Yeah, just some like nerd.
Yeah.
That's how
And
this is.
then who's the boss of Red Bull?
Christian
Helmut?
Horner. No. Christian Horner would be the real boss, and Helmut Marko. To be honest with you, I'm not sure really what he is.
Who's Christian Horner's boss?
Well, now it's a new Austrian guy, younger, because Dietrich Matschik, and I didn't say his name right. Dietrich Matschik. Dietrich Matschik.
He died.
He passed away.
Right, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, I bet, is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where. I'm not saying anything, but just wherever there's human beings, there is fallibility, and I wonder how you monitor or enforce. It's also. I was just watching The Big Short the other day, clips from The Big Short again for
Love that movie.
love it for the Pop Finance podcast. And there's that scene where Steve Carell and somebody else goes in and meets with the Securities Commission. And there's this woman wearing weird sunglasses. I totally forgot that she was wearing such bizarre glasses in this scene. And he goes, "So wait a second, you knew these guys were up to no good, but you didn't say anything?" And she goes, If we say something, if we publicize it, they'll just go down the street to the other Securities Commission
Mm-hmm.
people. So we'll lose the business." And I feel like that happens. I feel like in sport, morality takes a backseat to the bottom line when there's so much money at stake. And that's why you have so much corruption from cycling to the Olympics
To
to
FIFA.
FIFA, where like what you said earlier,
Did you
forget the
ever?
rules.
Yeah.
Just everybody do steroids
Yeah.
and everybody have guns.
Mm-hmm. Murder your way to a world championship.
Let's just make the whole world Uzbekistan.
Yeah. What is that?
I don't know.
Is it real?
Yeah, for sure it's real. But let me
Are
write.
you sure?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to apologize to them too.
Yeah, but I also think you should apologize to your geography teacher because I'm not sure that that's the country.
You know, I did apologize to Dave Wall once. I made fun of his cardigan sweater. It was green, and he heard me, and then I said, I'm really sorry," because I was just joking. It was just an appalling green, and I was just an idiotic teenager. He was such a nice guy. He's probably dead by now.
Yeah. I don't really
You know
remember
what?
many
That
of
was
my
the first
teachers.
time. It was the first time that I improvised. I didn't know what improv was. It was grade 9 social studies.
Yeah.
And you could do a written presentation or an oral presentation. Obviously, I chose oral, and I didn't have to write a bunch of shit down. And you stood up at the front of the class, and I was a feudal lord. And so all you had to do was research your backstory, and then the teacher and the class just peppered you with questions. So how many serfs do you have? So how many acres of land? So what kind of palisades are you rocking? And if you didn't know the answer, you just made one up and had enough confidence to go, yeah, that's the way it is here in medieval
So
England.
that's how you learned to do improv.
I just did it, and I had a natural ability for it. And then afterwards, Scott Hodges said to me,
Nobody
you know,
knows who these people are. Keep going.
no, well, I do. And Scott Hodges was like, "Hey, when you were doing your presentation, Mr. Wall said, 'Wow, that guy's really good at this,' and I just wanted to pass it on." Isn't that so sweet? Grade 9, 1980, I don't know,
That
6.
makes me think of a couple things, if you don't mind me sharing. They're not Formula One related, but they could be. They could be applied to Formula One. One was there's this at the Canadian Music conference. I shared it with Christina and Denise and a few other friends. Um, there's this rapper talking about rap, and the music industry was the music industry, and however it was organized, right? Like, we'll tell you what good music is, blah 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 blah. So people are rapping, and he goes, "This is how things grow." This person sends does a rap. The other person says that's weird. That's no good. They both devalued themselves, right?
Mm.
He's that's weird. That's a weird. What's that? That's a weird rhyme. That's a weird rap. Now he's diminished his value because he's diminished the value of the other person. He's not validated them in any way. This person raps. This person hears it. This person goes, "Oh my goodness, that is so cool. That sounds amazing." He's validated him, and now he's increased his value. And by being with that person and by validating, you've increased your value.
Okay,
This
but
is
do you have to mean it? Or are you asking people to lie?
well, I think what the suggestion is you look for what's good in it first because it's
Oh,
easy.
yes.
It's
Yes.
easy for us to find what's bad in something,
Well, have you
especially if it's
noticed
new
that?
and we've never heard of it.
Well, yes, for sure. Newness, we are at once attracted to and threatened by newness.
Hmm.
Like when you've been in a relationship a long time, you start looking at other
Yeah,
dames.
yeah,
When a novel virus comes along, everybody's threatened by the new.
yeah.
We're used to the flu, threatened by the new.
Hmm. So,
But have you noticed that big picture thinkers don't get upset at things like traffic?
mhm.
Like they're sort of above it all because
Well,
they're
this,
thinking about important things, whereas people like me are like, you got an indicator, why don't you use it,
yeah,
Mr. Audi?
yeah. So to finish the validation thing on, it's like, oh, it's interesting. That's how you create value. Value is validation.
I like it.
And it's like, oh, that's a way to look. Like when someone brings me an idea, I should look for the parts to validate. It doesn't mean I should be like saying, oh, you're a genius. That's not going to help someone either. But I need to validate what's good about something, that an idea. Perception and perspective. It's an interesting thing to examine. I was watching Diary of a CEO, which is a podcast which I think is really cool, and I've shared sometimes with it. You should watch it. Um, and he interviews a former CIA agent, and he goes, the problem with most of the individuals in the world is they live in their own perception, and their perception is wrong. The perception is completely inaccurate. Your perception of the reality that you're in is not right. You have to change your perspective to truly understand what's happening. You have to look at it from another perspective. And the reason why I'm saying this, and I'm trying to make it about Formula One, is it's like if we go back to cheating in Formula One or poor driving standards, what perhaps a cheating F1 team's perception is, well, I need to win. I have to win. I have to win. This isn't cheating. I'm just pushing the rules. But if you change the perspective and look at it from the rule makers' perspectives and why they put the rules in place, which was to create order, to have equal footing, to find out who the best team is and who the best driver is, well, then that's that's probably the way to be looking at it. Not looking at it from I have to win. I'm not cheating. And it's the same with how Max drives. His perception is, well, the rules say this, so I'm allowed to do this, right? But that's not from the perspective of the rule makers. That's not why those rules were made. Those rules were made to govern and create the most balanced, safe place to then allow the best drivers to succeed. So, our cheaters or our people, because I shouldn't say they're cheaters necessarily, are people that push the bounds of rules. Are they are they the best? Do you have to break rules to be the best?
That's a great question. I have to go in 5
Oh,
minutes. Can we apologize? Can we put a pin in this,
yeah.
or
No, no. Let's apologize.
let's apologize? I want to apologize to Uzbekistan for
Mhm.
making fun of you. I didn't mean you. I just, said a name. Of course, I first thought Kazakhstan, but then I didn't want to use that as usual, so I went with Uzbekistan. And I don't really know anything about you, and I have nothing against you. I want to apologize for Gunther Steiner by saying that you're less Italian because you sound like you're German. And and I want to apologize to you, Milkbags, for making you uncomfortable about talking about your sexual life.
Oh, you don't have to apologize about that. That's fine.
Okay.
Um, I'd like to apologize for the beginning of our podcast being slightly on the negative side. Now, having said that, I mean we were struggling and we are faced with some challenges, as is everybody else, and maybe they don't need to hear us being negative. So I'm gonna next podcast. I'm issuing a challenge for myself, is to not bring in that frustration that I have with certain things going on, and focus on more fun stuff. Without, I'm not going to be fake. I'm not going to be fake fun. We can't have fake
No,
fun.
no
That's
fake fun.
annoying.
Yeah. But you're
Uh,
gonna mince. You're gonna no mince,
mhm.
but you're gonna do it with heart.
Yeah. And by the way, we got to keep that no mince up.
We gotta mince it up. All right, Milky. Well, it was great talking to you. It was terrible having to use this technology called Restream. I still
Hmm.
think it's their fault, but I guess I should apologize to them because they're just doing their bit, and we're
Well,
just
they're
doing
helping
ours,
us. They
and
are helping us. And
they
just
are
remember,
helping.
JB, eventually, probably in about 12 to 15 years, you'll be living in Italy in a nice village. And the technology you'll be using is a little stovetop espresso coffee maker that you
No,
put
no,
on a stove. And all you do
no,
is you
no.
pack it in and you
That's
turn.
not good coffee. That's the terrible way to burn coffee. I've got the implement. Let me show you next time.
Okay.
All right, pal.